Hello, everyone. What's today? Thursday evening. Welcome. My name is Nicole D. Vick, not Nikki, Nicole D. Vick. Welcome to my Facebook Live. We are going to have a wonderful time this evening. You know, before I got on today, I was feeling a little perturbed, a little irritated, little just, I can't even put words to it, but I just wasn't feeling good. But then I got behind the scenes in the green room with my friends and with Nomsa and our guest today and Kwame, and all of a sudden I just felt better. But one thing that I really have a problem with, or just been thinking a lot about lately, is what does freedom and liberation mean for Black women? There have been many incidents over the last, since day one, right, in this universe, that have made me wonder, like, why can't Black women be who we are, exist as who we are, period? It's just really been a frustrating thing. I've talked with my daughter about this on our Pushing Through episodes on Sundays on IGTV. But I would say that over the last 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks, there have been a couple of examples that have really kind of hit a nerve for me. First one, I want to talk about our girl, Shakari Richardson. Kwame, please put her picture up. She was this athlete that all I know is I seen this red or orange hair. I seen the eyelashes and the nails. She was running so fast, and I was like, wow. The fact that her eyelashes didn't come off her face, I was like, well, she's something special. This is magical. And I was so proud of her. I know a lot of us thought of Florence Griffith Joyner, and really kind of thought back like this is the next generation for us. And of course, we all know what happened. There were some issues in her personal life that really impacted her, and she needed something to make herself feel better. And then she ended up testing positive for having like marijuana in her system. And then there's all this judgment. And so that's one of them. The other one is Nicole Hannah Jones, my sister, my name sister, even though she spells hers a little different. That's all right though. We still name Nicole. I feel like of all the things that have happened to Black women in this world that I can remember, she is the epitome of being free and liberated in a situation where I'm sure she felt trapped initially or felt wronged. What she ended up ultimately doing was like, F all y'all, oh, excuse me, I don't know if I'm supposed to cuss on Facebook. But she really was like, I can't do this no more. It really made some strides to move in a different direction. And I was like, wow, so powerful. And I could identify with her in so many ways. But really, the question for me is, what would it look like if, to quote loosely this quote that I love, we don't shortchange ourselves by waiting for someone else to validate our existence? And what exactly does freedom and liberation mean for Black women? As you can tell, I can't wait to jump into this conversation with Nomsa and our what's the word when somebody your guest? Yes, I'm like, what's the word when somebody come on your show? All right, let me Nomsa, come on, because I'm talking too much and I'm about to talk myself into a hole. Come on, Nomsa.
Hey.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm Black.
You look all black, bright and summery and just like,
Oh, good, girl, good. My skincare routine must be back in place.
okay, so maybe you need to
Melanin,
tell me what that is, because
melanin popping.
what you been using?
I use Urban Skin Care.
Okay, I'm about to look that up. I'm like, what's that?
Yeah. Designed for folks of color.
Okay. So that's a little free tip for y'all. We didn't plan to go into the skincare, but that's a little freebie for you. And actually, now I'm gonna have to go pick some up because you said so. So,
Yes.
freedom and liberation for Black women.
Yes.
Let's just touch on it a little bit. Then we're gonna bring our guest in. How you feeling? What is freedom and liberation
So,
for us?
okay. So I've been holding this picture to say this on the show because I knew what we were going to be talking about, and I was already excited about the conversation. I was trying to hold myself together, but I saw this on IG. If y'all were afraid that Black women were going to take over and win everything at the Olympics or tennis or whatever, then y'all could have just said that, right? So, it's like you want to, Sha'Carri, okay, she smokes some weed. It's legal. I know it's not at the federal level, but it's like when you think about just how much people have to deal with, and when they're out in the public, they got to put on this happy face. So, hey, she took a little puffs. Am I mad at her about that? I mean, if they really think her smoking weed is gonna help her outrun folks, what kind of weed y'all smoking? I need to understand what, it's like, come on now.
Because I need some.
It's not a performance enhancer at that level. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you got that. But it's like you take the humanness out of somebody, right? It's just like, ooh, just look at her as a person who is suffering and in pain and still has to show up and get ready for Tokyo, right? And then, we doing our thing in the swim world. So now you got issues with swim caps for natural hair folks. For whatever reason, it doesn't meet the criteria. But it's like, come on now, really? You think if they wear a certain swim cap now? I mean, I know it's all the science and all this other stuff with what you wear for speed, but it's like, really? Because the people who's gonna be targeted, the impact is folks that look like us with hair like this, right? So you got that. You got Simone Biles, who is the greatest, right? So, she got stuff named after her. She's doing stuff ain't nobody else doing. So now it's like, oh, let's penalize her for being amazing, right? And I love saying Black girl magic, this, that, and the other. But now I'm like, it ain't no magic. It's just real. It's just who we are. It's how we function. It's what we do, right? So, hey. So freedom, liberation is us really embracing our worth and seeing ourselves, right? And not letting those other criteria, those other beliefs, thoughts get in the way of us being great, right?
Right.
So, making that hard decision to not stay at a school that you believe in and love because they don't see you. They don't value what you bring to the table. And as hard as I'm sure that decision was like, you know what? I ain't doing this no more. Right. I'm going to think about me and go somewhere where I am seen, valued, respected, cared for, right? As someone who went to a predominantly white campus, you believe in that campus, but you also realize there's good and bad in that, right? And how much do I want to hold on to that? But so, I can go on and go on because this has just been, front and center, right? And it's just like, come on.
Yeah. This is going to be a great conversation, and I feel like the best addition to this conversation tonight is to have someone come on a little bit younger than us, just a little bit, to hear what people her age are thinking about. She's a Black woman, and let me just read her bio and bring her on. How about I do that?
Let's do that.
So our guest for tonight is Cheyenne Winston, who I've had the pleasure to know since about 2018. And now that I think about it, she's an LA native, fierce community advocate, and a millennial who enjoys connecting social policy to nonprofit services and millennials to community action. She received her Master's of Arts in Nonprofit Management from Antioch University and her Bachelor's of Arts in Political Science from Grambling. She is the founder of the New Black Era and vice president of the Black Los Angeles Young Democrats and the associate director of communications, external relations and media at Innovate Public Schools. Come on, Cheyenne.
Hey.
I'm over here dancing. I'm like, why? Why am I like this? And it's funny because, like I said, before I got on, I was irritated. Now I'm so here, like I don't know. I'm just crazy.
That's what Black women make you feel, though.
I think that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? So
And
we were
we
just
share
talking
these
about
relationships.
Cheyenne, everything that's been going on about this freedom and liberation of Black women, and Shakari and Nicole Hannah Jones, and all these things that happen to us where, for the most part, to me, it feels like we can't ever be ourselves. We always have to be something different. I don't know. It's just weird. But I wonder what you think about all of this, what you think freedom and liberation is for Black women. What are people your age talking about? Like, because I know y'all see it differently than us. We see things a little differently, but I just want to hear what your thoughts are.
Yeah, again, thank you guys for having me. It's interesting because I feel like my generation, we individualize what freedom and liberation looks like for us.
Mm.
I have a younger sister who's like Gen Z, and like they really see freedom and liberation. You could see just by how they dress. That was like the biggest no-no for me growing up, was like, you wear shorts under your dress, you people don't see your lines, but they do their thing, right? But I think in order for us to really have freedom and liberation is to, like, I don't know, because I always bring up this generational thing, because like I know you guys are talking about Nicole Hannah Jones and Shakari and about what others do to us, but I feel like we do it to ourselves. Like Black women judge Black women so much. Like we can't be free. Like we can't wear bonnets in public. We can't try to have a professional voice. We can't be too ghetto. We can't be too bougie. Like we give a lot of names to ourselves, and it's like we can't be free. I mean, first of all, let me just say this. Like, I define freedom and liberation on my own. Like, freedom and liberation to me as a community, it just seems like so far off. I like so far away for reaching that I feel like I define freedom and my friends based off of my morals and values. And I don't think that I'm ever looking for the government to free me. I think that would require a total disruption. And I think that when you see disruption, Black people always, they name it something, like BLM is too much, everybody's too much or too little. And so I think in order for us to really see freedom and liberation, we have to define it on our own. I define freedom and liberation as me being able just to do what I want. Like, I just want to do what I want to do. Like, I want to, like, personally, that looks like giving, serving, community, family, friends, expression. For me, expression is like music and dance. And, I like to party. I like to politic and party, but other people may see it differently. And so I just define freedom and liberation, like starting in the individual space. It looks like equity. And I think in order us to continue to take up more space, like continue to take up more space, continue to bring more allies. I'm talking about Black allies. I'm not talking about white allies, because like we're not monolithic. So like Black women, just like the generational thing, y'all, listen.
You done said a whole lot. And I'm sitting here like, and in some ways, I'm actually really glad. I'm glad that you called us out, because you're right. I think that even my daughter has said that. She has said that, like my mama, like her grandma, like y'all be coming at us, why y'all talk to us this kind of way? And I am noticing that. No, so do you notice that generational sort of rift? Like we aren't as patient with our younger folks. Like we assume that they're supposed to know something, and they don't. I know, so I'm really excited or interested to hear what you think about that.
I think it varies, right? So I think about, how my grandmother grew up and the messages that were passed down to my mom and her siblings. I think about how my mother parented and the things that I could do or not do, right? How things get carried down. And then I'll say, I, as a parent, was more like wanting, so there are some things I was like, I don't want to repeat that with my Anna. I want to be more free, right? I want to have a different relationship with her, right? Yeah, still parent, she still knows, but be able to open up and talk about stuff. And so even though I think, I am open, my daughter who's 28, she will let me know, okay, mommy, that's judgy. Or why are you, it's like, I don't know, mom, you're not looking at this the right way. So I think there is that thing, right? It is that generation, but then it's also, there are some things that folks in my age or older that I'm like, hey, people pick and choose, right?
Yeah.
I used to tell my Anna, you can't wear pajamas out in public. That ain't what pajamas is for. Because I was raised, you don't dress like that when you leave the house. Right? It's like you need to dress a certain way. You need to be presentable. Even if it's in sweats, you still need to be presentable. That's just how we were raised, right? And I'm so glad you brought up the bonnet. Because my thing is, okay, I wear a bonnet, wear a house, sleep in one, but am I gonna go out in public with one? Most likely I will not. But I'm not gonna judge the next person. Hey, if that's how comfortable you feel being outside, do it. I mean, I wear scarves and try to decorate them up, but we do stuff, but it's like at some point, people just gotta be them and free. I want to be able to go out and be and look however I want, right? That shouldn't lessen who I am, what I know, right? Where I've been, because I got a bonnet on. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that shouldn't make somebody less of. And if you are so worried that sister girl with her bonnet on now is going to make you look bad, that's on you.
Right.
Why are you worried about what she got on over there?
One of the things that I've talked about a lot, just to touch back on the bonnets real quick, is a lot of people were commenting, because remember that was a big old thing when Monique said it. It was a big thing. It was all over social media. Everybody was reposting it, and people were trying to talk about it. And one of the things I remember saying is we have to be very, very careful about talking about it being okay to judge people by how they look, because we have said for years, for example, it is not okay to rape someone based on what they look like. So now if you're going to say that it is okay to see someone less than with a bonnet on and treat that person accordingly, beat them up or whatever you think is okay, then now we're not making sense no more. So which one are we doing? And I think that was the one thing I was like, let's be careful about us tying what someone looks like to their value, because now we're mismatching now. Because 1 minute we say it's okay, don't do that for one thing, but then for something else it's okay. And please don't misunderstand me. I am not making someone being sexually assaulted the same thing as wearing a bonnet. I'm not equating the two as the same, but the sentiment to me, when you decide that you want to treat someone a certain way based on how they look, that is where the danger comes. And I think this whole respectability politics, that's where we start to get in trouble as a race and a culture, when we decide that, oh, you making us look bad. Because we all know them over there don't care what we look like, how many degrees we have or not. We still get treated the same way. So like, what are we really saying? So but that goes back again. We can't be who we want to be because we're tied to these rules, and some of us know the rules and some of us don't, and then the rules change and get made up whenever they feel like being changed. And I'm like, well, hey, I don't know what I'm supposed to do anymore. And I think that's the thing that makes it really hard and heavy. I don't know, Cheyenne, if you have anything else to add about the bonnets, we can kind of move from that and then switch gears into talking about Sister Nicole for a second, Nicole Hannah Jones.
No, it's not that I necessarily have anything to say about the bonnet stuff, but I think that what you said towards the end, regarding what we look like to our value. And I think that that's what the younger generation is really honing in on. Like, they don't care. Like, one, they don't really believe in a lot of systems. Look, I'm not Gen Z. I'm a 30-plus-year-old millennial, but like, ain't no pension plan or retirement. Like, things are not being done the same way. Like, we don't have that. Like, I do not have an opportunity to see success and to see my career similar to, as generations above me. So I have to create my own path. We did a lot with just changing dress code. Like that was that's something we did, right? So the younger generation, they're not seeing they grew up, a lot of them, a lot of us have experienced a lot of world trauma and into the bombings, the school shootings. They're looking at Black Lives Matter, George Floyd, social media, all the stuff that's happening on social media, and I could go on and on about that. And they don't care. They don't care about the rules because the rules have not worked in their favor in their generation. They have not seen that. And I think when it comes to liberation and freedom, I want everybody to individualize that, because if you're looking for anything, for someone to give it to you, then you're always going to be waiting. But if you define it on your own, I carve out my little path, my little equity piece in this world that I'm chipping off on in certain areas. I'm not taking on every issue. I'm not speaking about everything, but certain things care about me. I just want to challenge everybody who's listening today, to individualize what freedom and liberation looks like, because it's going to look different by generation. It's going to look different by economic status. Urban Black women look differently than suburban Black women. We grew up differently, and our morals and values are different. So it's hard to figure out what it's going to look like for all of us when we haven't even individualized that.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, say any thoughts? Because I think that's interesting. The difference between individualized freedom or liberation versus whole, or the community as a whole. I mean, I there's some good points in there, and I'm it's making me think differently about. Because I guess I don't know. I think I tended to, maybe because I am of that a little bit older than you, I still kind of think no, we have to think collectively. All of us, we all have to work together. So I'm just wondering, what you think?
I don't disagree. But I'm just saying, but it's still all of us together. It's still let's say it's all the Black women in LA. Y'all know we all sort of connected, but that's LA County. It looks different. So, I'm gonna be that person, but it's hard out here for under 30-year-olds.
I hear you. I know. I hear from my daughter. She be like, "Girl, I don't know what's going on out here."
It's a different time. It is definitely. It's a different time. Exposure, right, and what you have. It's a different time. There's some things that are still the same. There's some things that are different. I'll be 52 later this month, and I still don't feel like the system has been there for me, right? It's I still, it's yes, progress has been made, but we still have so much work to do, right? And I think we all create our path. It's what's my values? What do I see? I think we all do that. That's how we survive. That's how we get through, right? And create, and hopefully some of us are able to pull others up in that process. And then it's as a whole, right? How do we just make sure that Black folks in this country can thrive?
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And not be seen at, how do we just create the space? And really, to do that is to dismantle everything that exists, because no system, policy, practice was designed to protect us, to educate us, to keep us healthy, to create wealth, right? We had to do that on our own, right? And I think as some of us have moved up the ladder and been able to taste wealth and success, sometimes we forget where we come from, right? And then we create all these other things, and we start to function in the world like them people that don't, they let you get so far, and then it's slow your roll. You still one of them. Don't, there's a threshold. So it's how do we, yes, be that individual and can function in the world. But then it's how do we make sure, though, we all all get the opportunity, right? To pull up our bootstraps. That whatever, the saying, I used to be like, what the heck does that mean? Right? But it's like, how do we, how does that become something that we also get to understand, get to experience, right? So I'm like, don't sell grandma's house or mama's house, whatever, right? Because then you got some property, you built that wealth, or all these other things. We can go on and on, but I do think something that Cheyenne mentioned is like how as women, we hold each other back, right? And how we do that and what that looks like, and the negative impacts of that. And so at some point, I know we were talking about some other things, I would love to come back to that. But I think she raised some really good things. And I know we've talked about that stuff, right? But we look at friendship, and we have a group of friends that, it's like we constantly are lifting and thinking about how to bring others along in that process. So, and not that that's something special and unique about us, but I think also it's like, how do we also reframe where there's this thinking sometimes about Black women is that we don't support each other, right? And,
right.
And I know it exists. We know there are times when we will stab each other in the back, but how do we elevate each other in a different way?
Absolutely.
And I know we're going to have to go into a commercial break in a few minutes before we jump back into it, but I just wanted to kind of end on that.
Okay, let's stop right there. We finna go to a quick commercial break. With my nails, y'all should have never got me nails. Let's go to a commercial break, and we'll be right back. I just want to say before we start all the way back, I just love Pyro Media Network. Let me tell you, if you all watch me every Sunday on Instagram, my episodes of Pushing Through with Andrea, my daughter, the owner of Pyro Media Network, created a new theme song. And let me tell you, I got at least 2 or 3 people asking me, who did that and how can I work with them? So excellent quality, everything. So just wanted to say that because I just felt that right now in the middle of what we're doing. So real quick, I wanted to talk about Nicole Hannah-Jones and really because her situation, I read her statement about what was going on and all the details, and I could see myself in her. I went to a predominantly white university, have a lot of, I would say to some extent, some allegiance to that. I'm like, yeah, I went to USC, woo, woo, woo. And, I can see where, she probably had an expectation that based on how long she had been there, all the allegiance she had and time she spent, that this wouldn't have went the way it did. But then when it did, I'm like, boy, I know she was sitting there like, what is really going on? And just how this whole thing happened to her was really interesting. And I think one of the things that I thought to myself is, I wonder if that had been me, would I have accepted the tenure when they finally gave it to her and just went like, yay, I got what I wanted? Or if I would have been as brave as she was. And I don't know if she would even consider herself as being brave, but to me, that was a big moment where she probably had to work through some issues of like, what the hell just happened? I wonder if I would have stayed or if I would have left like she did. I don't know. It's just something I think about and wonder what you all think about what happened. I mean, in one thought process for me, it's like we shouldn't be surprised because this is how things always happen to us, where they set a rule for us and then we meet the rule and then they just move the goalpost. They just keep moving it. But then on the other hand, I think for her, I'm sure to some extent she was not expecting to be treated so poorly, and probably was really, really disappointed. But I don't know. I'm like, would I have left? I feel like, I don't know. I'm just curious to think about what you all thought about that situation.
I think it comes down, it comes down to like, we will always be seen as like not seen as a tool, but like she was accepted because she had something to offer. And you have something to offer as a scholar, as an academic scholar, she made them feel uncomfortable. And until we start putting our money together, where we no longer have to worry about white people or non people of color funding anything, then we will always be at the stake of their rules, even if their rules are implied and not written. I think her going to an HBCU is amazing. I graduated from an HBCU. I did get my master's at a PWI, which was a different experience. And I think that I don't want to say pros and cons, but there are differences in both places. But, even I just think it's two things. One, we will never truly be seen as equal. We won't. I mean, I feel like there is hope for the younger generations who are starting to see, just because the climate that they are being raised in right now, especially with a lot of conversations around the LGBTQIA community and support and such. So I think I have hope in the younger generation for sure. But I think when it comes to those of us who are seeking like opportunities in white spaces or non-Black spaces, we're always going to be at the helm of those who have the money. And I don't mean to get too political, but money is everything, right? Like we talk about like, oh, Black Lives Matter, white people gave them money, but Black people don't fund stuff. Like I work in nonprofit space. You know how hard it is to get funding from Black people who have a lot of money. I don't see as many Black philanthropists given all the money that we have, especially in the entertainment industry. And yes, we have those who give a lot of givers. I never want to like overlook those, but I'm saying like we don't really use our money goes into, beauty and fashion. We're the biggest spender consumer, right? So, but we're not the biggest givers. It's interesting because people in poverty are, I don't remember the data point exactly, but people in poverty give more money than people who have more money. Like the church and all those things. But just back to Nicole Hannah-Jones, I think that was such a big move that she did, because she said, you know what, as a Black woman, I'm not even trying to be like y'all no more. Listen, I'll go to another institution. And what I really like, because I really follow Ta-Nehisi Coates, he's one of my author that I love so much. And one thing that he said that they are now even more adamant about is like not making Howard like, even though Howard is Howard, like one of, a great Black institution, there's 107 others. So now they're starting to open space, because that move now showed a lot of younger Black scholars to say, hey, like I can bring this to an HBCU. Deion Sanders is now, a coach at a Black college. His sons are going to Black college. Shaq's sons are going, son is going to a Black college. Like people are starting to see like what we have, like that's freedom and liberation, right? Using like a Black Wall Street, like using our own tools, our own skills, building our own, like in my opinion, I know it's not necessarily controversial, but me and my grandma argued about this before. But I said, Granny, I don't know if I would have been fighting for integration. Like it was just like, stop killing me and give me my books, but I don't have to go to your schools. Like we good over here. We getting fried chicken and greens. Like our aunties work here. We get to walk across the street. Like I wouldn't have signed up for that. Also, I don't know how daring I would have been, but I think that what she did was such a huge move to let Black women know that you no longer have to fight for a seat. Like I don't want to keep on bringing folding chairs to other people's tables. Like I want our own tables. I want our own institutions. I want our own homes. I want our own mortgage companies. I want our own lending companies. I want our own schools. I want our own. And we got these conversations start off small conversations. There's a lot of reasons why we can't do that, just because of a lot of dissension within our community, right? Like there's so much misinformation that's changing, because some people, that is their goal. Their goal is to be seen as a woman or a person of stature to other people, to non-Black people. And I think that that's why I go back into the individualized, because you have to define what that looks like for yourself before you can move collective, because then you don't know which way to go. And I wanted to say one thing before we go off topic, because before the commercial, I just wanted to share that I don't know who shares this rumor about Black women not supporting each other. Because listen, in my community, Black girls, we all we got. Like, okay, we all we got. Like our young folks, and I think that we start seeing that on Instagram a lot. Like look, we have fake friends so much we support each other. So yeah, I just wanted to share that, because young people, somebody else is making that because every time I talk to a Black woman, no matter what age, they keep on saying that. Who keeps saying that Black women don't support each other? Like somebody has inserted that into the conversation, but I still have not seen that to be true. Because I was in Vegas this week, and me and two Black girls were passing another group of Black girls, and we walked past each other. Everybody was like, "Yes, okay, bathing suit, okay, outfit." All the guys were like, "Okay, here go, Black girl power," whatever. They were joking around. I was like, "That's really real life for us. That's not just an Instagram comment." And so like that's. I know I went kind of like a few different places, but I just had to say that because Nicole Jones showed us what a Black woman can do with her power. Like, how about I got all of your credentials and now I'm taking it and giving it back to my people? That was enough.
No, absolutely. And we've had, our sister friends, we've had asked that same question, like, where did that come from? Because that's not how any of us roll, right? And so it's like, I don't really see it, right? And I don't know if some of it comes from, they got all these reality shows on TV, right? So you see us at each other's throats, and that's like the image they want to continue to portray about us. But we know on the ground, without no cameras, that's not how it always goes down.
Exactly. I don't know, and you're right. I don't know who started that. It must have been the reality TV, but I don't know. It's just really weird, and I don't know. And I think it's really damaging. I think it is really damaging because it creates this weird sort of feeling, and then also when other people that are not Black see that, they kind of buy into the whole drama of it, and then it starts other issues, and it's just weird stuff. I got some other questions. Hold on now. Cheyenne, I want to ask you, because we've talked about this through today, right? What we've been talking about. What do you think, since you are a millennial and you're, very familiar with even the younger generation in your family and other folks, what do you think that because I'm gonna count myself, I'm a little older, just a little bit though. What do you think us older women should be doing, can be doing to support? Because I feel like, to your point, there are some things that we are not doing. And yes, it does come down to individual relationships, but I'm just wondering, what is it that we could be doing differently? What conversations should we be having? Should we be setting some stuff up, meetings, trainings? I don't even know, but I would love to hear that from you.
I think that conversations like this are so important. Like literally, we like just how we mentioned, like Black women in your circle are like are connecting and partnering and networking with each other and sharing, opportunities. And then in our generation, we're doing the same thing, but there's no bridge. Like there's no bridge. And I think that a lot of younger Black women, especially those who didn't come up, depending on how they were raised and the opportunities they had, and they're now starting to see more opportunities via social media or looking for something via social media. I think it really, for us, it just bridging the gap. Like it doesn't always have to be formal, but like when I was younger, there was mentor opportunities. Like I joined LawPi and other organizations to connect with older women, not older women, but other Black women. But women, if we think about the person who's not actively engaged, like we continue to, and I'm including myself, like we continue to have conversations with each other. Like I'm starting to see the same women everywhere. And now I've challenged myself like last year to start connecting people who I usually wouldn't connect with. They might be like, oh my gosh, girl, I love you so much, and I want to connect with you. And I'm like, all right, but I really make it a point to like, let's go to coffee with her. If it was Zoom, FaceTime or chill. But I think that opportunity just to connect and have flowing conversations, because that's when we really know that like we have, and it's such a cliche, but we have so much more in common than we do in separate, not in common.
Yeah.
And so I think that what we would like to see is like access. Like, let me know how you got the career. Like I remember calling her name is Amber when she was my professor at Antioch, but now she like my mentor. I call her my mentor. We don't have no professional professional mentor relationship, but I'm like, okay, I just got a promotion. How am I supposed to negotiate this salary? Like, what am I supposed to do? Because if we don't share information with each other, then guess what? We're going to go look for it online, or we're going to get it from a man, or we're going to, not saying they don't have the best information, but I need to tap into a Black woman. And I will say that I'm lucky enough to come from a family of all women. Like I have any brothers. I have one uncle, I'm on my mother's side. I have one uncle. Like I don't have many men in my family. So I'm a girl's girl. So it's not hard for me to connect with women because like, that's all I know. Like I really have a family full of women. But some women are opposite. They come from a family full of men and they don't know how to connect. And I think that we gotta start having more conversations where, there's a millennial on the call, but then there's also a Gen Z or Gen X, because you really start to have like everything starts with the conversation. And I think that's what we want. My friend Ashley, she has an organization called Cool Ass Black Woman, and it's just so cool. Like all it is, like, the shirt say Cool Ass Black Woman, the platform is Cool Ass Black Woman, and like the more she connects with other Black women, it's really like, dang, we all out here saying the same thing. And it's all ages, the only common thing is we Black and woman, but like, I think that's what we're saying. And if I can call 10 people right now, like, what do you need? Like, what do you, when you want liberation and freedom from Black women, I think I hear non-judgment and candid conversations. Like we really feel judged. Like I would never forget entering to the political space feeling so judged for being like young and like, I'm not necessarily saying my attire because I would dress, but like, what if I didn't want to? Like, what if I just wanted to wear tennis shoes? And like, and I would also say it's not necessarily I'm getting this from Gen X, and I know that baby boomers are a little bit older, and they have, for rightfully so, like they grew up in a different time, like they completely. But when we just start having conversations on commonalities, it makes us feel like we have support. We can, y'all got kids, you can't be out here letting us give advice to each other, okay? We need y'all to tell us, girl, leave him, girl, negotiate, girl, get your stuff together, girl, this is how we did it. Let me give you a little sneak. Let me give you a little life hack. That's what and I'm blessed to have that from my mom and her friends, and even you, Nicole, and Namsa, and other women that I've like connected with through just being vocal. But I always consider the girls, who grew up in foster care, or who grew up in hard communities, or who grew up with all boys, like they don't know how to find these spaces and meeting us where we are, like,
yeah.
That's I know it's a lot, but that's what I feel like that's what we need from Black women. Like that bonnet conversation, I'm not trying to go back, but that really felt like a lot of women felt judged. Like if I talk to my little sister, like I know sometimes I'm like, girl, what do you have? Like you're really outside with no clothes on. But like I still have to see her for who she is as a person, as a woman, and what she has to offer. And also knowing that, well, there's a lot of stuff that I don't wear no more that I wore when I was in my early 20s, so like letting us all be free and liberal and do what we want to do, and connecting on the commonalities versus, feeling judged.
Yeah.
Yeah. And let's be real. Let's be real right quick, and then I'll be quiet. If white people start wearing bonnets, it will be no problem at all. It'd be, oh my God, where you get that from? What? Wow, what's that? So that's the other thing. Like, let's be real about that. Okay, when they wear pajamas outside, because they do make them little satiny pajama-y looking outfits, it's no problem. But if we come out looking a certain way, it's judgment. So that's the other thing I don't like. I'm like, y'all get on my nerves with that. But anyway, go ahead now.
Yeah, and like I said, the last time, I think when we were with Pia, it was like we get judgment from everywhere, right? There's these external definitions and rules for us, and like Cheyenne said, then we create our own internal rules, right? So it's like there's sometimes there's no winning as a Black woman. It's like, you are always trying to figure out. It's like I always got to fight all my life. I've had to fight. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's where we are. Crazy. But I'm curious though, right? Shina just talked about what we need from each other as women. But do Black men play any role in our freedom and liberation?
Ooh, listen.
I felt that. Woo, I felt that.
It's like they play a role because they can see us and affirm us and protect us, especially in places that we're not, or especially in places where women are uncomfortable. Like you'll see, and I'm not speaking for you because I know dope Black men. Like my fiance is a dope Black man, my stepdad, my father, but these young men, like I don't want to speak for them, but I don't think that we need them, but they do play a role. Like I feel like one, we share the same world with them, and if a Black man starts respecting women in a public space, then his homie's gonna do the same thing. You see these men, like rappers and stuff, they're starting to get married and stuff. Like it's starting to be cool to have your chick, and the young guys always gonna be the young guys. But I feel like I don't feel like any Black man plays a role in my like identity, like in like how I identify myself and how I, define liberation and freedom for myself and for my community. But I do feel like they play a role externally because they need to see us and affirm us and offer us opportunities or fight for us, fight for ourselves when they know we need an ally. Like their biggest role is in allyship, and protecting us from people who are trying to harm us. And I'm also identifying on both sides, women and men, we do our own little part in the harming. We do our own little parts in keeping the gate, closed, keeping the door closed when it comes to liberation and freedom. But I don't want to, that's a whole different topic that I'm gonna have to download in my head. But that was my off the like rip answer. It was like, internally, we don't need a man to do any to define us and how we see those things, but they do play an external role, especially how you individually see, what you individually see as your family structure, your home, your sexuality, like all of that is our first individual choices. And then on the outside, there's a lot of allyship, but I just feel like they need to see, affirm, and protect us regardless if we're trans, regardless if we're bisexual, if we're a woman, skinny Black woman, short Black woman, tall, nappy, bald, bonnet, weave. Like I feel like we need to be seen and affirmed as the creators of this world before anything.
Love it.
I mean, that's it. I mean,
you didn't say the word. I was about to say, Nicole, what you about to follow that up with?
I mean, I don't even know if there's anything to say, because one of the things that I feel like I agree with you, Cheyenne, but I also feel like in some instances, unfortunately, our Black men have taken a large role in shaping how we see ourselves in a lot of ways. And it is negative. If you don't got a booty that can sit a little shelf on the back, oh, you're not good enough. If you don't look this way, you're not good enough. If your hair ain't like, right now, if it don't look like this, we get discounted. And then I think the other point that you make that really resonates with me too is a lot of times I hear Black men, yes, I love Black women, I protect, but they only talking about their mama, their wife, and their daughters. But the woman on the corner that's obviously in trouble, oh, that ain't none of my business. Oh, whatever. Or the homie done did this to that one. Oh, well, that ain't none of my business. It's like, yes, it is. Like, why y'all can't stand up and speak, large and more of a broader understanding of all of us deserve that same amount of respect, not just the ones that you are attracted to, that you want to sleep with, or your mama.
Oh, you're right about that. You're 100% right about that. And I would, dang, I just lost my train of thought because you said something. I was like, yes. It'll come back to me, but I don't disagree. I don't disagree at all. Oh, this is what I was gonna say. I was reading this thread, and it was on Twitter about like somebody was joking like all the lines of women getting BBL but live the airport because they need the wheelchair. And so a woman, oh my gosh, she made us a dissertation in her Twitter's feed because she said, you shame Black women for being too big. And when they get small, you shame them for that. You shame them for not having enough hair, but then you shame them for wearing makeup. You shame them for not looking good. I mean, not enough having hair, but then wearing wigs, not looking good, then wearing makeup. You shame them for being too athletic. They look like a man. You shame them for being too curvy because they look like a stripper. You know, you shame them that we get shamed so much. And you are 100% right. Men have such a huge role in that because they have a larger platform, especially in the music industry. And that's what the music shares. That's what the video shares. Who's in the boardroom? I'm here for Black women taking up more space in like decision making rooms. Not just policy as in like politics, but the politics of entertainment, the politics of insurance, the politics of economics. I'm trying to see a Black woman Fed chair. Okay, I'm trying to see a Black woman Attorney General. Women who can really change the trajectory of like how we're seen in certain spaces. Because when that happens, we start seeing more of us in the rooms. And when more of us are in the rooms, we're like, no, no. Or we're uplifting other artists who like Rhapsody or Chica, who are great artists, great rap artists, but they're not getting the same platforms because the music industry is really ran by white men. And so I 100% agree. And I just think that we got to continue to do what we're doing, changing the narrative, owning our own narrative, putting our middle fingers up to people who are judging us, having hard conversations with ourselves, like not just internally, like not Cheyenne with Cheyenne, but having hard conversations with other Black women about how they're tearing us down and what we need to do to lift them up. Because what's happening is like these conversations are happening everywhere, which is amazing, right? Like I'm here for it. But when I went to the Black Enterprise Power Women Summit in Vegas and we was in the Mirage, y'all, it was like 4,000 Black women. And I would recommend any Black women in like with business and career. It's not like a color pop or any like what is it? It's not like a pop con or color con or anything like that. It's not around entertainment. It's about Black women in business or in careers or whatever. And I went and it's just Black women from every major corporation. You could tell they ERG sent them out. It's hosted by Black Enterprise, and speakers were Stacey Abrams and Kamala Harris. This was when I went. It was in 2019, but Stacey Abrams and Kamala Harris and the VP of this organization, the VP of this, the president of this, and just candid conversation. But it's nothing but Black women, all ages, from all across the country. We in Vegas, y'all. Kenny Lattimore sang. We had it was parties. It was a Macy's sponsored a shopping trip. And so like I think about like moments like those that give me inspiration. Like all Black women want this, but they're not seeing this. And what do we need to do with our platforms to continue to say like, hey, like we go together, like listen, like we're seeing Issa Rae keep on telling everybody network across. We don't always got to network up. Like walk with your homegirl who can listen. And when I need something, the first thing I'm calling everybody who I know, like y'all do this, y'all do this, y'all do this. But there's not enough of us doing that. And I just really feel like when we start taking up our own space, when we start, like, I love seeing, something happen with Naomi Osaka or Sha'Carri, Gab Union, she jumping in the conversation, okay? Kerry Washington, she jump in the conversation. We got to jump in the conversation and then start taking up our space. So when we take up so much, they like, dang, if they leave, we not going to have nobody. That's how I see it. Like, I see it as like, that's the hope I have. I'm a very optimistic person. I don't think that the institutions are to do that, but I think that we can do that for each other for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, it's almost time for us to go. So I'm gonna ask Nosa to close us out, give us our final thought, and then I'm gonna wrap this all up. But this has been an amazing conversation. I feel like we need to do this again. This was great. Nosa, closing thoughts.
You know what? I love it. And I love how this ended up, right? So Nicole and I talked about this, I think last week, and I was on fire, and it was like, okay, and it just went with the flow. I so appreciate you, Cheyenne, and what you bring and what you said, and I got to know you via Facebook, right? So it's like, via Facebook, talking about some t-shirts. I think that might have been the first. I mean, we think we might have saw each other in something else or something, but engaged about a t-shirt. But I like the stuff I see you post and about your promotion, and these are the conversations we want to continue to have in this space, right? And to take them to the next place. And I think our goal, or Nicole's goal, I said me, since she didn't make me co-host, our goal is to continue to have these conversations in other spaces, right? And talking about all types of things. But yes, love to be able to do this again. In my mind, I was like, ooh, we need like an in-person, come together.
Yes.
We've been in homes, we've been on Zoom. It's like, I need to be in the space with some sisters and give some hugs and something. And it's like, I feel like we got to figure out a way to take this, to the streets, Nicole.
I agree. We're going to do something.
Like, we need to take this to the streets.
We're going to figure it out.
I'm all for it. I'm about to look up cool ass Black women, because it's like,
we always use filthy rags.
I'm like, the title by itself, I'm like, okay, and I need a t-shirt. So I'm like, I need to be looking that up. But it's like, yeah, the more we talk, the more we know what's happening and get connected. So I'm all for it. But I so appreciate you being with us. And, I want to get to know you even more now.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys, and thank you for having me. If we ever want to have a little sip and chat, we could always do that filthy rags, because my mom would love to do it. That's where I get it from. That's where I get my Black women empowerment from. Yeah, let's talk about it offline, and I can even bring my friend. I would love for you guys to meet Ashley, a cool ass Black woman, because she brings such another perspective, and she works in tech and entertainment, but she's built this community of over 60,000 Instagram followers of Black women, and so this is what people want. And so let me know, this millennial could use her little big mouth and platform to share out. But I am just so appreciative for you guys thinking of me and always supporting me. Like Nicole, you've always supported me since WAPI, and I really appreciate you guys, and I thank you guys for giving me more Black women to look up to and connect with.
Oh, I love it.
Amazing. This was a great episode. Thank you, Cheyenne. Thank you, Notes, of course, for being the co-host. We are going to go ahead and close on out. You all know where you can reach me. I am on Facebook, Nicole D. Vick Author. I'm on Instagram, Nicole D. Vick. I'm on LinkedIn, Nicole D. Vick. I have a beautiful website that Pyro Media Network put together. There it is. We're actually going to do a remake real soon, but that's my website, www.nicoledvick.com. Also, don't forget, y'all, I got a whole book. A whole book. It's called Pushing Through, Finding the Light in Every Lesson. And also, I want to say there might be another book coming. Maybe in September. Maybe. I'm just kind of throwing it out there. I don't know. We'll see, right? And before we close, this is a surprise. This person wasn't expecting this, but somebody on here has a birthday coming up. So we just want to say happy birthday to Nosa Calvani. Happy birthday. Where the party at? Hey. All right, you guys. Thank you again for being here with us. And we will see you next month. April 19th is the next one. All right, y'all. Bye.
Bye.